behaviour of some of these people, doing armed robberies with knives, stealing cars out on the street. That type of behaviour is just as dangerous to them as it is to the broader community.
These kids get labelled as crims by mainstream society, but I can tell you that they are in there for the most minor of crimes, and the important thing to note is that the vast majority of them have never actually been convicted. They are victims of serious child abuse and neglect, physical neglect, emotional neglect. They've never felt safe in the environments they've grown up in. They've never felt loved.
Natalie Siegel-Brown is Queensland's public guardian. One of the roles of this independent office is to monitor and advocate for the rights of every single kid in the child protection system, including the growing numbers now held inside the Brisbane City Watchhouse.
If we don't think it's justifiable to hold adults for more than 48 hours in these circumstances, what are we doing to children who are being held for up to a month in these circumstances? And I can tell you that my staff are reporting significant mental wellbeing decline and psychiatric decline for these kids.
The Office of the Public Guardian sends what are called community visitors into the watchhouse to check on the kids and to advocate on their behalf. Janet Pearson is one of them.
Just seeing kids peeping out of the cell doors, out of the little cell hatches that they put the food on. They peep out of there and they're craning their necks to look at you, and they've got tears in their eyes, and they'll just say, "Miss, when am I getting out of here?" Or, "Miss, can you tell them I didn't do it?" Or, "Miss, tell them that I want to talk to Mum." And it's horrible. It's really harrowing. And then you've got to extract yourself and move on to the next one.
They do not have access to the outdoors. If they are lucky, they get up to 15 minutes exercise in a four-walled pen with mesh over the sky roof. These kids are lying on their 2 squares of mattress in front of the cell with a blanket over their head. They have no stimulation. The lights are on all the time. They get dimmed a bit at night, but the lights are on all the time.
Janet Pearson remembers a group of 11 and 12-year-old Aboriginal boys from far north Queensland who she visited in the Brisbane Watchhouse and who struck her as particularly helpless.
They were sitting at a table with their legs dangling off the chair and they couldn't reach the floor. We managed to get them some colouring books inside the pod and some crayons, and the faces just lit up and they just sat up on the table and did some colouring.
So you got 11-year-olds in the watchhouse colouring?
Colouring in books, yeah.
Four Corners has hundreds of pages of correspondence and reports from the Office of the Public Guardian, obtained under right to information laws. They detail serious problems with drugs, with kids attempting suicide, with children being put in isolation, including one child for weeks, with kids with disabilities or psychological problems being locked up, and in one case, a girl being placed in with 2 alleged male sex offenders.
I think what the reports from my officers show is that we have significant numbers of kids from traumatised backgrounds with significant prevalence of cognitive impairment, held like caged animals in concrete pens. I can't imagine what these kids are experiencing when they're in full view of adults, having all sorts of episodes, coming down off drugs, listening to the screaming. Some of these kids might be 12 years old, but some of them are operating at the capacity of a 6-year-old.
One report from last year highlights the case of a child under 14 deemed permanently unfit to plead after being assessed as having the cognitive functioning of someone younger than 6 years old. There was a 13-year-old with profound hearing loss kept in the watchhouse for 5 days. There was a case of a 17-year-old girl who told a youth worker she'd taken the tranquiliser Xanax laced with ice while in the watch house.